So then I was looking around for what careers made loads of money. And I had the retail trader's perspective of people in the city trading for a living and making millions of pounds. And so maybe a bit arrogant, maybe a bit of a challenge. I like giving myself challenges, but I said, well, what makes them better than me? And gave myself the challenge to see whether or not I could learn and to become profitable. I quickly looked around the internet, did some due diligence and research, and realized that there is a massive proportion of the retail trading space that's purely there to part you from your cash and with no interest of actually turning you into a profitable trader.
One of the biggest problems, especially with retail traders, is unrealistic expectations. And what I mean by that is, like, it's really hard to come, and it's not their fault most of the time, because like you go online and you see these chimps on Instagram who are posting, they've made a screenshot of what probably is one of their 1,000 demo accounts that they just made $1,500 trading whatever. Because when you're on your mobile, you can't see the difference on an MT4, the difference between a live and a demo account when they show you the screenshot. And so people see this stuff and they think, and then they obviously have something to sell you as well. And people see this stuff and so they think, oh, well, I can do this too. And rightly so to them. Like if one person can make $1,500 on a trade, then you should be able to do it too if you have the information that they have. But the problem is that I think everybody doesn't give enough credit to putting the time in, like doing the work and actually putting in that time, because it's kind of like mountain climbing. Like if you put two guys together, one person's been climbing for 25 years and who's climbed really big peaks and all that kind of jazz. And then some person who just went out and bought a bunch of fancy equipment and it's their first time. And they think they're going to get to the top of Mount Everest or something like that. Like it's pretty unrealistic that new person who's got flashy equipment is going to be able to do it without killing themselves. And so same is true with trading. The unrealistic expectation is just that on one point you can't blame people because that's what they're sold and that's what they're told. But and then the other thing, they bring that in there and it's just like, you're not going to make 1,000% in your first month, regardless of what, the Instagrammers or other people selling you information online tell you. It's time to reel it back in. Like I always tell people that if you can make between say 2 to 5% per month and you do it that's in a scalable way, like none of this like scalping stuff where you take 2-3 pips, but like 30, 40, 50, 60 pip profits, that kind of stuff, that's scalable. Like there are investors that would love to give you a ton of money if you can show them a track record that says you make an average of 4% per month with a drawdown of 3% whenever you have bad losing streaks. You can literally leverage that up. Like there are people, I know one guy who he trades, I think he's got about 100 million under management. And he started off with a $5,000 account, but he just traded that $5,000 like it was gold, like it was actually really valuable to him, and just made 2, 3, 4% on that. And now he's raking in the kind of cash that people are told they can rake in. But what they're not being told is that it took him 8 years to get there.
I would say what helped me the most in trading and in my personal life or in my professional life as well is I was always a perfectionist, and that doesn't help at all. So once I recognized that I have to stop being a perfectionist, everything took off. It was really amazing. It's like I'm pretty sure most of you have tried a diet before or tried to be very consistent with one thing. You started out, you're highly motivated, and then you stop one day, you fail one day. Everyone fails, right? And no one is a machine. I mean, just doesn't happen. Everyone fails. And then you just destroy the perfect diet, for example. You dieted for 20 days. One day you go on a binge and you eat 500 marshmallows, and then you feel like you failed, you destroy the perfect diet, and you stop. And that's exactly where you should keep going, because everyone fails, and real success is made the day after you fucked up, right? So no one is perfect, and don't be a perfectionist. Just keep going, steady, step by step, and don't worry too much about the little drawdowns, ups and downs, and so on.
one year, my father-in-law said, "Come down to Hong Kong. I've got this great new way of making money." And we started trading the Hong Kong tail market. And it wasn't hard, It looked to me, it was trading a very nice top range. And I thought, if I can sell the top and buy the bottom, easy money, right? And I did that for I was supposed to stay for about 4 weeks, ended up staying about 6 or 8, something like that. And at the end of that period, I made enough money to be able to buy my wife a fur coat. And I had a little bit extra for myself. So I thought, this is it. I love this. Time's my own. I'm going to get to trade. Talk to my wife. I said, I'm going to sell a legal practice. And she said, yep, we were all in agreement. And just before I left, last 10 days or last week before I left Hong Kong, gold broke out. And the 10 or 15% I'd kept for myself, I blew the account. But I ignored that. I just said, I'm not going to worry about that. Sold the legal practice, and 12 months later, I'd blown all the money from the legal practice. So that's how I got started.
Okay.
If you ask me how, my wife's going to kill me because she hates me telling this, but if I have to if I have to put the success, call it blame, if I blame anybody for my success, it's my baby, because for 7 or 8 years, the first successful year was 1987. Sold the legal practice in about 79, 80. So that period, that 7 or 8 year period, the only reason I kept afloat, because I lost about 750,000 Australian dollars. Now you're talking a couple of million nowadays in today's currency. That was 19. She was the one that supported us. And I'm basically got to really understand what trading's all about, the probability and so on, when I did a course with Pete Stettelmeyer in Chicago. And she was the one that funded that, and she was living on $25 a week. So tell you asked me how I turned it around. Firstly, you need the support of your wife, especially someone like Chrissy. Yeah. And then I think I came to realize, and that's what Pete taught me, that it's not about patterns. It's about the psychology of buyers and sellers. And yes, the profile is something that will identify that for you. At least it did for me. But it's always about the psychology of the buyers and sellers. You've got to get in there and say, what is this chart telling me about whether the buyers have exhausted themselves, or whether the sellers have exhausted themselves, or we're trading a value area where there's fair price for both parties. And I think that to me was the key. My understanding of the markets came from that idea. So I really do believe, doesn't matter whether your personality is better off as a discretionary trader like I am, or someone who is mechanically inclined. I think you should start with a very simple mechanical system and make sure it's got an edge, obviously, some sort of edge. But just learn that trading involves execution of a methodology, irrespective of what's happening emotionally for you. You handle your emotions, but you have to execute that plan. Once you get that under your belt, then you go on to other things. You can become a discretionary trader, because by then you've understood, okay, I find a set of rules that will work for me. I'm going to follow them, and we go from there. And he saw my trading results and said, right, I think you could be successful in this area. And he got me interested. So we managed to raise IPO, call it an IPO, for 20 mil. That's how we started.
Okay.